Hi, this is Kathy Hartwood, and if you live in the North, you are starting to get ready for golf season, or at least you're starting to think about golf. And I want to make sure that you have the most amazing season ever and you don't create any bad habits. So I'm going to give you a few things to focus on so that you can get ready and fast track yourself to getting back into your golf shape or playing even better. Right? So the first thing that you're going to focus on is your grip. And I want you to think about two things when it comes to your grip: your placement and pressure of your grip. So placement refers to how much you turn your hands from one side to the other and making sure that they're both matching each other. You don't want one hand turned over really far to the right and the other hand turned over too far to the left. You want to make sure that both of your hands are facing each other for the most part. And a really good place for you to start is I want you to think about the space between your thumb and your palm. That line is going to point up towards your right shoulder, right? So when you put your hands on the club and that line is pointed up towards your right shoulder, then you're in a pretty good position to make sure that you have a fairly square club face. And you should be seeing two knuckles when you do that. If you turn it over too far to the left, we call that a weak grip, where that line would be pointed up towards your nose or even your left shoulder. That's a weak grip. And that has a tendency to make the ball go too far to the right. And if you turned it over so far that you saw, maybe all the knuckles on the back of your hand, we call that a strong grip. And that's going to have a tendency to make the ball go to the left. So you want to kind of start somewhere in between and making sure that that line is pointed up towards your right shoulder and that you can see two knuckles on the back of your left hand. You're in a pretty good spot to get in that club face square, which is a nice repeatable position to be in. For your right hand, you want to make sure it matches that, right? So when you put your right hand on the club, you want to make sure that the line or the space between your thumb and your index finger is parallel with that line on your left hand. It's a real easy place to make sure you're starting so you don't have your hands fighting each other. So that's your placement. Let's put your hands on the club in a nice position so you can get a square club face throughout your golf swing. Placement is number one. Pressure, how tightly you squeeze that club. If you've played any racket sports over the winter, then you're used to squeezing that club a little bit tighter than we do in golf. And the other thing about racket sports is you put it in the palm of your hand, and in golf we put that club more in our fingers. And when the club is in our fingers, we can't squeeze it as hard as we can when it's in your palms. Watch your grip pressure. That club is not going to go flying out of your hands, and it's a huge tendency for people in the beginning to really squeeze it hard when they're starting out the season. So position and pressure, that's where you're going to start with your grip. Okay, posture. Posture is the second thing that I want you to think about as you're getting ready for this season. When you spend the winter sitting in a chair a lot or not moving around as much, you have a tendency to get your back gets tight and your hamstrings get tight, and we end up standing over the ball and getting all crowded or rounded over, and we crowd the ball, and it's just not a really good athletic position to be in. Besides, it doesn't look very good, right? So I want you to think about two things. Bow. So what that means is you're going to bow. I want you to feel like you're bowing forward, kind of like those birds that used to dip over and take a drink of water. I think they were called lucky birds, right? You want to feel like that's what you're going to practice. You're going to rehearse bowing, right? And that might scream on your hamstrings a little bit. Your back might be a little bit tight, but get yourself used to bowing over, right? And then you unlock your knees last, right? So bow is number one. Number two is balls of your feet. I want you to think about once you bow, it's easy. You can sit back on your heels where you could tap your toe. You might have bowed, but I need that center of gravity to be forward so the weight's up on the balls of your feet. I don't want it on your toes, right? Because then you'd lose your balance, but I want it on the balls of your feet. If you can bow and get the weight up on the balls of your feet, you're going to be in a more athletic position so that you can make some repeatable and powerful swings so you don't create any bad habits by getting yourself into some bad pivot positions, which happens when you get your back all rounded over and the weight out of balance. So work on your posture, thinking about those two things, bow and balls of your feet. Okay, so now you have your grip and your posture. The third thing, you're going to start to hit some golf balls. And what I want you to do is take out your pitching wedge and you're going to think half and hold. I want you to take some half swings to get started to make sure that you can get yourself in sequence and get your timing down before you get in any bad habits. You haven't swung for a while, so you're going to get up there and you might have your hips moving first and the club going second and your pivot going last, and you're going to be all out of order. So in a half of a swing, right, it's kind of hard to get two out of sorts. So I want you to take a half swing, just finish with your arms, or take a backswing with your arms about parallel to the ground. and then swing through. Nice and easy. Get your timing, loosen up your back, loosen up your hips a little bit, and get some rhythm going. The second part of that is I want you to hold your finish. And part of the reason why I want you to hold your finish is, well, you should be holding your finish in your full swing anyway, but this is a time for you to get in that habit of creating some balance in your swing. It also is going to take out some of that hit that we have a tendency to do when we start playing golf in the beginning of the season, meaning that you're going to get up to the ball, and if you try and hit at it, right, then what happens is you end up bringing that club back down. It's hard to hold your finish. So this is going to help by you holding your follow through. It helps smooth out your swing a little bit. It also is going to help you get into the proper follow through position. You should be finishing with everything up facing the target, back up onto this right toe over here, and I want you to hold your finish and be in balance. You want to start being able to keep your balance at these small swings before you start making a bigger swing where you have a tendency more to lose your balance. So I want you to own that part as being able to hold your follow through. So you're going to take a half swing, hold your finish. Should be really easy for you to stand here and pose, right? Everything up towards the target and on your toe. So those are 3 things that are going to help you get ready for the golf season. I hope you have an amazing golf season. Work on your fundamentals when you get started so you don't create some bad habits, grip and posture. And I also want you to focus on taking some easy swings, half and hold. All right, I hope you have a great season. You can do this.